So John Donohoe, Independent Republican candidate in North Cork Central for this election. Thanks a million for joining me today.
You're welcome, Fergus.
Can you tell me a bit about this constituency and your experience in Cork? You're not from here, but you've lived here quite a while. So what's been your background in the area?
Yeah, I'm living in Cork the last maybe 10 years. I left the capital, Dublin, to come down to the real capital, and I'm working security at St Mary's. And my experience of Cork so far is very, very positive. Very positive.
And you're running, I would say, a fairly unconventional campaign. I don't think that's any secret. I can just zoom in on the posters here. Can you tell me, why did you decide to run, and why did you decide to go about it in the way that you have?
Well, I feel as though the politicians, the media, are calling the shots on what's important in this campaign, like housing. And I know housing is very important, so it is to people. But, you know, every day, definitely twice, 3 times a week, with people talking about these issues. And they're very concerning for people. They are.
Yes.
Their children are very mixed up. Even themselves are nearly sometimes mixed up. So there are issues that need to come to the front, and I'm tackling them, as well as housing. I can't say that I would sort out the housing crisis. No way. I'm an independent, and as an independent, if I said I would sort out the housing crisis to them, I'd be lying, and I think they know I'd be lying.
Right.
So I would go along with any party who had a good policy on housing and support them.
So you're not trying to make empty promises that you can't keep up. Do you think people recognise that when you're meeting them on the street? Do they talk about how you're kind of unlike other politicians? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I have a few people stop me, and they didn't recognise me from the poster. And one lad in particular walked up. I had a poster in my hand, but I had a woolen hat on me and a big jacket. And he said to me, "That chap in the poster, we have to get him into Dáil Éireann.
Wow.
His flyers come in the door, and we just have to get him in because he's talking sense."
Right.
Yeah.
So the reception has been overall pretty good, or has it been mixed?
No, it's been mixed. I had a lad run up the road after me, dressed in a belly top, threatening me, saying that I shouldn't be alive and I've no place in this modern Ireland. And I had to tell him he was mentally ill, and, you know, running around like this in the first place, that he wasn't right in the head. And, you know, only women can get pregnant. And I asked him, could he get pregnant?
Right.
And he just kept on screaming obscenities at me. And that was basically it. He tore up the flyer in front of me. I threw it in my face, and I just said to him, "Keep Cork tidy," and he went off. That's the shortened version of what happened.
Right.
Yeah.
I suppose you're well prepared with a career in security for all sorts coming your way. Is that right?
Well, I'm doing security the last 2 years. I wouldn't be a martial art expert or anything, or been able to defend myself maybe as some would, but so far I've managed. Right. And as I said, the majority of people that come to me, they're very positive, and they're saying, "Look, this is badly needed to be said." And people are just coming up and shaking my hand and saying, "Thanks for saying this."
Right. And has your campaign this time around, has the message been the same, because you ran before in the last general election, or is that messaging different?
No, it is somewhat different. And the last time, it was just a definite 3 weeks. This time I've had a bit of more time to prepare.
Mm-hmm.
The last time I'd only maybe 4,000 flyers, to give out, and I just went door to door with them and putting them indoors and handing them out in the street. This time I'm probably more prepared. I'm equally as ignored by the media this time as the last time, but at the same time I have posters, I have flyers, I have a few lads helping me, and a few girls as well. And I'm that bit more prepared. I am. The message that this time and last time, I didn't speak about, your uncle can't be your auntie, etc. But had I got longer, I probably would have stuck it in there somewhere. I probably would have.
So something's obviously changed in the last 4 years. What point, when did you cross into another kind of a territory, do you think, Where if you weren't saying that 4 years ago, why are you saying it now?
Because it's been pushed in everybody's face more now. It wasn't as bad. The majority of our sitting politicians, they seem to have the grasp on common sense, but it's just gone overboard now. It has. It's in your face 24/7. So I just felt something needed to be done. I mean, there's some policies from the last time I would still go along with.
Right.
It's just at this time, it's just gone way overboard.
Would you say there's a general suspicion now of what people call the establishment that there wasn't? Maybe in the result of COVID, have you noticed a change? Do you think that's been part of it?
COVID's been part of it. I don't think people were too impressed when the politicians were telling us to sit at home and do nothing, and they themselves were going out golfing. And there were other instances of them breaking their own rules as well. And I don't think people are suspicious of them just because of that. It's because, the bike shed, €336,000 on a bike shed, 1.5 million on a security hut in Dáil, Ireland. It's just gone ridiculous. And they're trying to say that they're going to sort out things financially. They've had many years to sort them out. And unfortunately, I don't like to say, but people don't trust the Irish government.
And how about the media? Would you have more faith in the media than the politicians, or less, or about the same?
I've watched very little of the debates, but I've seen them on YouTube. And in all fairness to the media and RTE, they asked some difficult and awkward questions, and they did put them on the spot. I don't think the politicians are actually expecting some of the things that they asked. I know that they are joined to the hip very much with politicians and media, but I think some politicians as well are getting fed up, even with the pushing on the iPass centres. And I think they themselves, by the sound of their tone as well, they themselves are fed up because they know it's going to affect them and their children, into the future.
So you obviously, if the Irish flag is prominent on your posters, you call yourself a Republican. Yeah. So can you talk to me a bit about your kind of inspirations in Irish political history or Irish history? Who has kind of inspired you? Are there any people in particular, that come to mind?
I think the 1916 leaders are very inspirational. They are in many ways, and there were like they say that we've been conned nearly for the last 100 years. I don't believe that. I do believe that there were very good and honest politicians in Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil, but just the last 20 years it's gone way over the top. So it has with spending money wrongly, etc. But the 1916 leaders, they wouldn't have been afraid today to say there's only two genders. They wouldn't have been afraid today to say that a man and a woman can only consummate a marriage. Two men cannot consummate a marriage, so there's no marriage there. That men can't be women. They wouldn't have hesitated. They would have laughed at it. They would have said, "Get lost," and they wouldn't have been politically correct. So I suppose the inspiration comes from them, but just even Catholic priests down through the ages who weren't afraid to say what needed to be said.
And supposing you were to get elected, if you win a seat, are there any TDs that you'd like to kind of align with or be supportive of or cooperate with that you know of?
There's an Olin girl up in Offaly. Then there's the Matt and McGrath. How far do I align with them? I think they do seem to have a huge amount of common sense. I haven't really thought that far ahead. I haven't thought further ahead than maybe tomorrow, so I haven't. And who's going to get in or what I would do? I would have to. It's such a mess in there that you would have to take a day at a time, see what's being said. I wouldn't go in all guns blazing either verbally. I would have to sit back and see what it's like. See who's in there. We could have the monk in there. That sort of way. And if it's a crazy government, he could end up Taoiseach. So he could. So
yeah. Well, John Donohoe, thanks very much for talking to me, and wish you all the best in your
Thanks
election.
very much. Thanks very much.